my God. G'day guys, how are you going? Today we are reviewing the Polo Style, a car that replaces the Polo Beats, which was a huge success, especially here in Australia. It comes with a lot of inclusions and is a really good car, but is it worth just over $30,000? Today we're going to answer that question. Now, as always, we're going to start by taking a look at the exterior of the Polo, then we're going to move inside and see how it looks and then how it drives, and finally we're going to end on, is it worth picking up? So let's just get straight into it. That should not be coming out of this engine. But anyway, the exterior. I would describe the front of the Polo as very professional looking. It certainly has zero chance of offending anybody because it is quite simple. For the younger generation out there, it has sharp creases and it is quite masculine, kind of. But then for the older generation, it's not so bold and so pronounced either. So I think that Volkswagen have really struck a very good balance there. But for me, it does err on the side of boring. Not that that should surprise anybody. Volkswagen are very safe with their designs, and this is a very safe design. The grille is quite small, and I'm not too much of a fan of the halogen headlights either. I think that if they were LED, it would look a lot nicer, and a lot of the competition, for example, the Ford Fiesta, come with LED lights, and you can get them on the Polo GTI, but you'd be spending almost $40,000 on that. And there are probably other cars I would recommend at that price point. But anyway, the rear is my favorite angle of the hatch. I love the way that these LED tail lights look, especially at night. They wrap around the side. It looks so nice. I really do like the squared off shape. It gives it more of a boxy vibe, and I like that. Again, it's simple, it's sharp, but it works, and it's smart, it's professional, but it's safe. I think it overall looks good. I think the funniest part of this car though is the side, because it's almost like Volkswagen were like, be safe at the front, be safe at the rear, but just go bonkers on the side, because it's bonkers. The amount of sharp lines and creases, I feel like you could cut yourself on them, but I don't mind it either. I think it adds some flair and it kind of makes the car more youthful. I'm all about the sharp lines and the sharp creases, and I'm a fan. What I'm not a fan of though are these 16-inch wheels, and they are upgraded wheels because this is the Polo Style. But these are the definition of boring. I just do not like the way that they look at all, and to be honest, I think some of the 15-inch rims look better than these 16-inch ones. But I suppose it's hard to offend with these wheels, and the other wheels aren't very nice either, so it's a safe design. It's pretty clear that overall the Polo is not trying to offend anybody and is trying to be a jack of all trades. I think it's doing it pretty well. It is very professional looking, as I said, but do you really want that in a car? I don't know, that's up to you. So if I had to describe the Polo's looks in one word, it would be safe. Now let's move on to the interior, but before we do, make sure you go down there and subscribe. That button is right next to the like button, and it really helps the channel out. It means that you get to see cool car videos when I upload them. I try and upload every Tuesday, but sometimes I can't, so at least you get to see when I do upload. Onto the interior now, and I do want to start with what's good, because there is a lot of good inside of this interior, and first of all is the quality inside. The fit and finish is great. There's soft touch materials where you want it most of the time, though there are some omissions, especially here on the door. But I've got to admit, it's not as bad as other hard plastics you'll find in cars like the Suzuki Vitara Turbo, which you can click up there now to watch somewhere. It still feels premium enough, and you do remind yourself that this is a cheap car. But as I said, other touch points are absolutely fantastic. All across the dash, it's pretty much soft plastic everywhere. Nothing wobbles, rattles, shakes. It's well put together like you would expect from a Volkswagen. Now, because this is the Polo Style and it replaces the outgoing Polo Beats, we have to talk about the Beats sound system that this car gets. Now, I would consider myself to be a bit of an audiophile. I used to sell headphones when I was working in my casual position, so I think I know a thing or two. And there are some sound systems in cars that are very average. For example, when I get into the Toyota and it has the JBL sound system, it was okay, nothing mind-blowing. So I didn't have many hopes when I got in this car and okay, it's Beats, whatever, it's just a name. It could be made by some manufacturer and they just put their name on it. But let me tell you now, this 300 watt speaker system is just absolutely fantastic. fantastic. It's very heavy on bass, but I like to listen to a lot of electronic music, and as a result, it works really well for that. And I found it pretty balanced. Like, it's definitely on the bassier side, but it's not overwhelming. And I don't recommend putting up the bass because then it does get overwhelming. It's very crisp, clear, it works so well, and is definitely a fantastic feature of the style. It's a bit of a shame though that the only Beats logos are on the A pillars here. Don't even have it on the speaker covers or anything like that, but you know it's a Beats system, and there are still a couple of Beats logos anyway. It's tasteful. Of course, the Beats sound system is connected to the infotainment screen, or should I say screens, because it does have a digital display. Now, the infotainment screen itself is great. It's responsive. It's got everything you want from Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. The maps are all right. Use your Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. Menu is easy to navigate. I've got zero complaints. And then this digital display cluster is like what the virtual cockpit is in the Audi. Of course, Volkswagen own Audi, and it's beautiful. I was shocked that I was getting it inside of a Polo. Now, you do only get it on the Style and above. You might be able to option in lower models, I don't quite remember, but it's so worth having. It's high definition. It displays any information you want on there. The adaptive cruise control is all controlled through there as well, and that shows you really nice symbols. It shows you a little Golf, the Mark 7, so not the Mark 8 that's about to come out, but who cares? I'm a huge fan of these digital displays. It looks amazing, and it certainly makes the car feel very modern and like it's not going to be outdated anytime soon, which is actually kind of important. Oh, and this steering wheel is so fantastic. If you guys are a long-time subscriber, you know how much I care about my steering wheel, and God, is this steering wheel fantastic. It's leather wrapped, it's D-shaped for whatever reason, because it's sporty. It's not, well, it's kind of sporty, but anyway, it's really good. You can do everything from the steering wheel. My one small complaint here is that the stalks, they are quite far away, and as a result, some people with smaller hands will have to reach over for them. My partner made that complaint, but it's not something that I really care about. Manual mode. It goes all right. But anyway, you control everything from the steering wheel, and that's all you ever want. You seriously do not need to take your hands off the steering wheel in this car, except to control the climate controls, which are physical. Another great thing about this car, it's not buried in the infotainment screen. It's all there. I love it. Oh, and before I forget, these seats, they are extremely comfortable. I'm kind of in shock. They're a bit sporty. They have this carbon fiber pattern on them, and they are cloth. The carbon fiber made me laugh when I first saw it. I thought that was pretty funny, but they look nice and they're functional. I've driven this car quite a few hundred kilometers over 2-3 hour journeys and haven't had a single complaint, which is impressive for such a small car. It really doesn't feel like a small car. Now let's talk about the bad, and there isn't very much. I am nitpicking here, but you should know about this. As I said, pretty horrible materials here. They're not as bad as other cars, and I understand because they have to save costs somewhere because you get a lot for your money. But it would be nice if that was soft touch or some sort of other material. And then there are some kind of weird ergonomics. For example, a tiny center console armrest here, just weird. At least it's functional, but it's tiny. And then there are the world's smallest and most poorly designed cup holders. They're in the shape of a hexagon of all shapes, and they're tiny. You can't fit anything in there at all. It's like, why? Like, what was the point? At least there are big door bins on the side which you can get big bottles in and whatever you want. But seriously, like, you can't even fit a cup of coffee in there. I don't know what you can get in there. It's so weird, but it's actually kind of comical. Oh, and one other thing, this isn't a bad thing, it's just funny. They've got in the glove box the CD and also 2 SD card readers inside of there. Okay, that was really unexpected when I opened that up, but hey. Quickly talking about the rear, it's not the best situation back there as you would expect because this is a very small car. Headroom is absolutely fine, funnily enough. Now I'm 5'11". I do have to move the seat forward a little bit if I were to sit behind myself, but it's not a huge issue at all. And it has some nice amenities back there, like 2 USB charging ports, which is fantastic. You don't see that in a lot of other cars. And there are also sport bucket seats back there too with the carbon fiber pattern, which again is just hilarious. But it's been comfortable. I've had a couple of taller people sit back there and they have not complained to me over an hour and a half drive, and that's pretty impressive. So it is definitely one of the better cars in the segment. And then there is the boot, which is surprisingly large as well. 351 litres of boot space. That challenges many cars a tier above. For example, it well outdoes the Corolla hatch, which you can click up there to watch now, and even comes close to the BMW 1 Series that I reviewed, which again, you can click up there now. I don't know how many of these click up there nows I can do, so hopefully I don't run out. And of course you get more space if you put down the rear seats. I think it jumps up to about 1100 litres, which is plenty. Now let's get on to the good stuff, which is the engine. And I love this engine and am so surprised by it. It's a 1 litre 3-cylinder turbo. It only has 85 kilowatts of power and it only has 200 Newton meters of torque. Both not very fantastic numberinos. But if we put the car into manual mode, we drop it down a few gears into first gear, and then we give it a bit of pep. Boy, is it responsive. It's not only responsive, but the turbo sound is so loud, and I love that. It genuinely sounds amazing. And I never thought I would say that about a 1 litre 3-cylinder turbocharged engine, but I am. It sounds great. However, there is a caveat here, and that is it is mated to a 7-speed DSG transmission. Not that there's anything wrong with that. The Volkswagen transmissions are absolutely fantastic. However, the one in the Polo has been tuned clearly for economy driving. And as a result, it is very slow off the line and it never really reaches its turbo spool RPM range of about 2500 RPM up. Even when you floor it, it still doesn't like to be very responsive. It's only when you put it in that manual mode does it become really responsive and liven up the car to such a high degree, it's just not funny. And there is one thing that cripples the engine, and that is the awful, and I mean truly awful, stop-start system the car has. For whatever reason, when you do come to a stop and the engine switches off to save fuel, a very common feature in many, many cars, when you put your foot back down on the accelerator to go, it won't move for about 2 seconds. Now, that might not sound like a very long time to you, but when you're trying to turn right off a road and there is traffic coming and you have a limited window of opportunity, it is dangerous. Let me show you what I mean. Foot down. That is ridiculous and that is stupid. Now take that with a grain of salt. When the car moves in front of you, the car knows that and it will turn on the engine. So usually it's not an issue, but sometimes it is. And as you just saw, it can be genuinely dangerous. Do not drive around with that auto start stop system. It's not good. I actually got beeped today because someone thought I was looking down at my phone or whatever when I wasn't. I was simply trying to move, but I couldn't. I think as you get used to the car, you will get used to that. But as I said, not good enough. Now that wouldn't stop me from buying the car. You can turn it off. And there's a lot to make up for it, but it's definitely something to consider. And before I forget as well, the fuel economy of this car that I'm getting is about 6 litres per 100 kilometers, which is amazing. It's really, really good, especially because I've been throwing this thing around in that manual mode. In terms of how it rides, it does ride a bit on the stiff side. Certainly not a huge issue, and that does translate into better handling because there isn't much body roll when you turn a corner, and that's a good thing. It certainly helps to make the car feel more sporty and more planted. As I said earlier, this is a small car, but it does not feel like a small car, and that's a really good thing to achieve. Gotta put it one more time in that manual mode. That's a gorgeous, gorgeous turbo sound. So overall, it does drive really well, but it has those two Achilles heel. That auto stop start system is borderline dangerous. I don't like it at all. And the second is that the transmission is definitely tuned for economy. Not that that's a big issue, and you can get around that by putting the car into the manual mode. Sport mode doesn't do very much at all. So is the 2020 Polo Style worth your hard-earned dollars, especially in this really poor economy we are in right now? I'll be honest with you, I've driven a lot of cars around this $30,000 price point. And I can tell you, if you get into one of these, it'll be the most premium car you can get for your money. It does have some glaring emissions. For example, it does not have lane keep assist, but it still comes with a lot. The interior is fantastic. Everything is well placed, well fitted, and you know it's quality. You can fit people into the rear seats. There's plenty of boot space. This engine is really surprisingly fun, and it's comfortable over longer journeys. All those things make this car absolutely worth it in my mind. I've got to do one last pull. My God. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you go down there and subscribe. It's right next to that like button, and comment down below what you think of the 2020 Polo Style. Do you own a Polo? What do you think of it? And do you have any questions for me? I'll be more than happy to answer them. I do respond to every single comment. So thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.